Welcome back, everyone. I hope your day is going well. My name's Amanda, and this is video 4 of the Writing for Everyday Life series. Now, I ended the last video by mentioning that this video would cover something I'm really passionate about, but I didn't tell you guys what. The answer is, drumroll please, emails. Specifically, what not to do when writing them. I decided to make this video because for years I wrote what I thought to be the most beautifully crafted emails. But looking back, they were kind of cringy. And by kind of, I mean really. If you think about it, we're never explicitly taught how to write emails, or at least I wasn't. It's something we're kind of just expected to know. While it's true that there are lots of resources on the internet, even some of those expect you to have pre-existing knowledge. So, with that being said, this video will cover 5 things that I wish someone had told me before I started writing emails. Let's get started. Tip number 1 is use the appropriate level of formality. First off, there's the issue of how you address people. Do you start your email with Dear Sir or Madame, or do you simply say hi? My personal rule of thumb is that if it's someone you're already acquainted with, or if it's not the first email you're sending, then a simple hi followed by their name or title usually works just fine. On the other hand, it's a good idea to use dear when reaching out for the first time, such as when applying for a job or position, or when sending a cover letter, or when asking for assistance from someone who you don't know very well in a position of authority. However, be sure to use dear with a grain of salt. If you've already begun an email correspondence with someone, or if it's someone you know, then saying dear can come off as too formal, a bit impersonal, and slightly awkward. Now, for the body of the email, it's the same idea. Be sure to use the appropriate language for the person you are emailing. To frame this more clearly, let's say you go up to your friend Bob and you'd like him to do you a favor. It's highly unlikely that you're going to go up to Bob and say, Dear Bob, I'm approaching you with the intent of asking for a favor. Something like that would just be completely out of place. Instead, you'd probably say something along the lines of, Hi Bob, could you please do me a favor? Similarly, when writing the body of an email, if you're in contact with someone you know reasonably well, like your boss or teacher, there's no need to be overly formal. Yes, you should be polite and respectful, but there are many ways to do that without being too formal, and by being too formal, you risk adding awkwardness to the dynamic of your conversation. Let's put these principles to practice. If you search up polite ways to ask someone something via email, I'm betting that the phrase, I am writing to inquire, will be suggested. Now, this phrase would work perfectly if, for example, you're inquiring about a job and whether it's still available. However, if you're asking your current boss for a day off, then I would steer clear from the writing to inquire and instead use something like, I'm wondering if. Tip number 2 is that after interviewing for a position, whether in person, online, or by phone, you can leave a great first impression by sending a quick thank you email to the interviewers. This is more of a job tip than an email tip, but I thought that it was important to mention nonetheless. Believe it or not, I've personally been told by employment recruiters that they like it when people send these thank yous. Unfortunately, these same recruiters informed me that a lot of people, especially young people, don't seem to know that sending post-interview thank yous is a thing. So, if you're looking to impress the interviewers and maybe even stand out from the crowd, I'd strongly encourage you to send one of these after the interview. All it takes is a quick email thanking them for their time and saying that it was a pleasure meeting them, and you should be good to go. Tip number 3 is to reply promptly, as in within 48 hours. Beyond that, the person who sent the email might get the impression that you're no longer interested, or they might feel annoyed and disrespected. If this is someone who controls an aspect of your career, like a future employer or current employer, you don't want them feeling that way at all. And even if the person you're emailing does not influence the course of your life, it's still best to treat them with respect. Now, I know from first-hand experience that sometimes it's just easier to not answer emails or to not open them for fear of what might be inside. But trust me, the longer you let it sit, the more it will drag you down. Tip number 4 is to be concise in your email, or at least make it look concise. Here's what I mean. These days, many people are busy, pressed, and on tight schedules. The person you're emailing will probably be more receptive to an easy-to-read, easy-to-understand email than a long, confusing block of text. One way to make your email more user-friendly is to use simple and concise language. However, that's not the only path to the rainbow. On top of being simple, concise, and easy to understand, I recommend typing in short blurbs of text separated by spaces. By short, I mean 2 to 3 sentences max. Folks, do not underestimate the benefits of adding spaces in between paragraphs. They are a powerful tool that can turn an unpleasant block of text into an aesthetically pleasing email. The last tip I have for you guys is to choose your sign-offs carefully. By sign-offs, I mean the thing you say after the body of your email, such as thanks or cheers or warm regards. The reason I bring this up is that for the longest time, my go-to default sign-off was thanks. But that all changed when an acquaintance informed me that saying thanks can imply that you're expecting the person to do something, and in that sense, it can sound a bit cold. It's true that in some situations, thanks is the right word to use, for instance, when you're actually asking them to do something. But in other types of emails, like if you're responding to someone or if you're just telling them something, it doesn't hurt to opt instead for cheers or warm regards. Now, this may just be a matter of personal preference, but I do think that unless thanks is the obvious thing to end off with, something a bit more warm with less expectant undertones is the way to go. Well, everybody, that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you were able to learn a thing or two, and stay tuned for video 5. Warm regards, Amanda.